Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Sparta!
All your days are belong to us.
It's a trap 9000!
Stop collecting all of us.
Leave Benny alone!
Leroy Dragon!
Objection!
The balls are inert.
Time to
Limousine sedan.
And now it begins.
All right, everybody out there on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and this is Nerd to Know Basis, and you are joined by me, Bryn, and my two wonderful co-hosts. Please say hello, guys.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, it's Keanu Calicorn here. Delighted to be here as always.
Good. So how have you guys been?
Decent. I'm playing Battlefront 2 at the moment, so I'm happy.
Which one, the terrible one or the good one?
Hold on, here's the thing. I will defend the new one to death, because what happened was same thing that happened with Battlefield 4. They released a terrible game. Everybody complained about it, and then they spent the next year and a half patching it and made a phenomenal game. And nobody cared.
Okay.
Yeah, and nobody cares now because all the hype is gone. But like, yeah, like the current Star Wars Battlefront game plays almost exactly like the game that you remember.
Oh, good.
So it's risen to the level of a game that already exists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Stunning.
Thanks, EA. Good job, EA. Good job. But to be fair, this is in high definition, and and it is online, so you know it's fun.
Speaking of that kind of idea, so like one of the things I was like in the last while, I've mainly been playing two games. One of them has been a remaster of a game I played back in the good old days of 2004. Well, it came out much earlier than that, but like I think I bought my first copy of it in 2004, which is Onimusha Warlords.
Oh yes, I'm playing that too.
Yeah,
that game was unreal.
Ooh, what is this? Sorry, guys.
Onimusha Warlords. It was this game that came out in like about it was like one of the first games off of launch, if I recall correctly, for PS2.
Yeah, and it has a huge following, but nobody really knows about it until recently, when it turns out one of my friends, it's like her favorite game. I'm like, oh my god, you've heard of this game? She's like, yeah, I love it. So yeah, weird. It's like when you hear that song and it follows you around the place.
Yeah.
Like Onimusha is great. It's kind of like got the same control scheme as the original Resident Evil trilogy, where like you press forward to go forward, left and right just pivots your character. You have to press forward again to go forward from that position.
Yeah, tank controls. Kind of like when not exactly tank controls, but close enough.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you're basically talking about tank turret controls, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the game controls a bit clunkily, but once you get into it, it's so damn good. The voice acting is between serviceable and pretty poor.
Oh, I love that early, like, kind of PlayStation 1 era, like, voice acting. There's something really charming about it.
It's not as bad as that, but it's still pretty poor. Like, there's one bit where, like, the character you play and, like, the NPC that plays, that is with him gets stuck in this kind of trap room. And the NPC is like, oh, Samanosuke, we have to get out of here. And he's like, yes. That's it. Like, so bad. It's amazing.
Jill, you're almost a Jill sandwich.
It's so great. And like, yeah, because I was playing that just after I finished doing a playthrough of Infamous Second Son, which is a bit more recent because it was a launch game for PS4. And I don't know if either of you played the original.
I have. I really enjoyed Infamous 2. Didn't enjoy Infamous 1 that much.
Infamous 2 is great.
Yeah, super good.
Second Son is better than I thought it would be based off of the character design, which looked very douchey to me.
Did they get rid of Cole McGrath? Did they?
They did, yeah. It's they've kind of done the Power Rangers thing where like the sequels now feature new original characters on each iteration. So there's like 4 Infamous games now, if I recall correctly. So like there's the first 2 are Cole McGrath, then the other two are like individual characters with their own stories in the same shared universe.
And what kind of game is this now?
This is like a sandbox game, and unfortunately, it's between this and like between Infamous and a few other sandbox games I've been playing in the last couple of years. I'm getting really tired of some of the things you see show up in it.
Man, I know. Well, like I think that's a good point to pivot. All right, yeah, go on.
To go on, like, you have to go up against these like base camps.
Yeah,
that in open world games, and it's just so dull now.
Yeah, like base camps, control posts, collectathons. You're like, oh, dude, come on! Just give me a linear game with a good story, and I'll be happy with that. You know.
I mean, it's like it just screams of like games that like are afraid to let you explore because you want to explore.
Yeah,
and like it strikes me as like, I mean, even one of the things that like this kind of pains me to say it. Like I love the new Spider-Man game that came out last year.
Yeah,
but I've played it through twice now, and I have no desire to play it again. And it's not because the story's bad; the story's excellent.
Yeah.
But what bugs me about it is I go like, yeah, but do I really want to have to go through all the chores that I had to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like to be fair, the DLC kind of scratches that issue. I never want to like I'm 97% completed it, so I will eventually go back and get the 100%. But the DLC scratched the issue for me again because I don't want to play the campaign mode again because of that reason. All the fapping about and
it's the chores that bothers me about it because even like even like I mean when you compare like the way I'd put it in terms of like the kind of spectrum of sandbox games that you've got, like in the most extreme example you have Grand Theft Auto 5 where it's a completely open world and you can do whatever you really want, but there's no real consequences to it, and there's no real rhyme or reason to why you'd want to play golf or tennis. You can, but there's no real necessity to. And there are side missions to an extent, but you don't really have any real need to play it. And then, like, further down the field from that, you'd have the likes of, like, your Fallout 3s and New Vegas and Skyrims where, like, yeah, there are base camps, but you don't really need to do them. You just kind of happen across them. And if you want to play them, you play them. If you don't want to, you don't want to. And, it kind of goes in that kind of... And it's like everything in that game just feels very optional. Even the main story feels optional, which is great. It's one of the best things about that game. And then even further down from that, you have stuff like the Saints Row games, where it's just filled with activities. And they
Saints Row 4, such a good game for all the reasons that people hate the game. Yeah. I'm like, you shouldn't. Saints Row 4 is super good.
Saints Row, like, I mean, those games are so harmless to me. Like,
oh yeah, no, they're just fun. Like, if you just want to play like a good, like the best open world game I've played, as far as going back and playing, Saints Row 4, because you can actually have fun with it. Yeah. You can kind of do what you want. It's great.
It's nice to do a great thing of like it has a lot of like quote unquote busy work, but all the busy it's fun, and you kind of like go. Yeah, it's busy work, but it's fun busy work, and it's never super repetitive because they try to limit how often you have to do each bit of busy work to being no more than 6 times.
Like the most busy work thing that you would do is collecting your homies. Right? But every homie that you collect, you have to like it's like a different game.
I think I've got my new text tone.
It's a different kind of video game that you're playing, so it's super fun.
I've got a hypothetical question for you guys now, because obviously just from listening to you guys and nodding for the past few minutes,
does it involve homies?
Because of the homies, yes. You guys know your stuff about video games and what goes into it and all that kind of stuff. When you were younger playing video games, were you more aware of what you call busy work, or is this something that has just bothered you the more games you've played? Do you know what I mean?
It's a different thing, because when we were growing up, the consoles, you couldn't really do busy work because the games were like way harder.
Yeah, but it's also like, I mean, the technology now is so different. Like, I mean, the quote unquote busy work that you have now versus the busy work you had before was like games would have like crazy difficulty spikes.
Yeah.
Or as they're more commonly known, escort missions.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like those were always like a pain point, and then they'd also have like other forms of difficulty spikes, also known as sewer mission.
The water level.
The water level. And like, you know, these were the kind of things that would come up with. They'd be kind of like a repetition thing for you to fight against. The basic work you see now, and like, I mean, the base thing in open world games, the first example of it I ever witnessed was this Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I loved it in that game.
Yeah, it was new. It was new, yeah.
But it's like it's coming up on 10 years since Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I'm really bored of it now.
Yeah.
Like, see, they beat it into the ground so thoroughly.
Yeah.
Anything open world now has been done to death, and we're all sick of it.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, I think, like, I'm not saying that like open world games can't be good and that you can't use base camp stuff. It's just that like at this point now, it's just like it's a played out trope. It's
look, friend, when everything is 5 stars, nothing is. When everything is a base camp open world mission, nothing is. And that's the problem. Like, okay, if you want like the ultimate example of how that kind of works in a positive sense, Bully.
Yep.
Bully. Yes.
That game is how you do an open world game.
Yep.
You know, it has its mission. Its story is not too bad, but at the same time, you can do whatever you want. You can hang out in comic book shop for hours. You can, you know.
Yeah, that game's a nice fine line between encouraging exploring, but if you don't want to, the game's there for you to play. Like, I don't think games really know how to toe that line anymore.
Yeah, correct. And I think that's kind of where we've lost the way, and it's because of games like, you know, Assassin's Creed and pretty much everything Ubisoft does.
Yeah.
Like boring protagonists.
For better or worse, they kind of set the benchmark of what the standard game wants. And like, look, again, it's one of those things where like I'm not saying that like these should never be done. It's just the case of like, I don't think that like going after base camps necessarily is a good idea for like a Spider-Man game. And the same reason why I don't think it worked in any of the Batman games that had it either, because it's not really why I'm playing those games, and it's missing the point of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, but again, like I think I remember like for like the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood stuff, it made sense in those games. It made sense in Far Cry 3, but you know, like.
So what you're saying is, if it's used in a way that's detrimental to the immersion of the game, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like even in the case of like something like Spider-Man, it wasn't even like immersion breaking at first, but once you got to the 4th faction that you had to do, you're like, oh come on, you know, do some other kind of gameplay feature instead of the same thing over again. Like it just became like a parody of itself by that point.
It's the equivalent of Screw Flanders over and over again. Yeah. So hard to get to the 8 hours.
Yeah. We've got to put in all this 40 hours of extra content to distract you from the story. Just keep putting in more.
More bases.
Yes.
Asbestos. More asbestos.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up the escort missions, actually, because I'm replaying Kingdom Hearts at the moment for the first time in a decade. And I'm stuck on the Riku big fight. People who played it will know what that is. But you get to do missions at Winnie the Pooh where you escort him around the place. And he keeps getting lost. He keeps wandering off. You have to like walk up to him in such a straight, precise way to get him to follow. And my Stevie, who's the biggest Winnie the Pooh fan, was just going, "Move, fat ass, follow me." That's escort missions. Just go. I think the Phantom Menace game had the worst with getting the 10 Damodala to follow you.
Oh, stop that game, man.
You're stepping on my dress.
That game is so bad. So bad.
That level made me snap so badly that I had to go, fine, and had to like again, this is like what, 2000? And I had to use like Yahoo or whatever other search engine before Google.
Ask Jeeves.
And find out the friggin' debug mode cheat for it. So I could just go, I just need to skip this level.
The fun thing about that game was, though, if you were persistent enough in the conversations, you could get all your beloved Star Wars characters to say really rude things to the NPCs.
Yeah.
It rewarded exploring in the worst way possible.
You know, I think there is like a show in and of itself of bad Star Wars games or like games around that time period.
Yeah.
I actually collect Star Wars games, so
you don't say.
No, I do.
Are you collecting something from Star Wars related? You're saying it isn't so.
Well, you know, we have to see what happens. You know, if that horrible movie, what's that movie that nobody likes? Oh,
the one that isn't out yet.
All of them. I don't know. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, you know, the Rise of Skywalker. You know, it's like they're all. But we're not going to get onto it. But you know, we should do a Star Wars game retrospective or something at some point. But
see, what I love about the last 2 or 3 weeks is like Star Wars comes up, and it's almost like a bus caught on the edge of a cliff, where it's like, does the rest of the episode become Star Wars? Do we let it fall into that?
No, that's why I'm graciously controlling myself.
Very much appreciated. I suspect we'll get back to it before too long.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Oh man, but I mean, like escort missions are just like the absolute word. Like even I remember even Metal Gear Solid 2 when you had to drag around Emma, who like this like useless freaking teenage girl who can't swim and can barely walk everywhere, and you're just like, oh my god, this is so horrible.
And you do find yourself kind of wishing death on them counterintuitively before too long.
There's a bit where she had to walk across these like this rickety water bridge, and it has claymores on it. And every now and again, I would just go like, I'm so sick of it, and make her just let her walk across them and kill herself.
But see, what's interesting about that is because that's such a like well-known trope, when that's subverted, it's really, really interesting. And BioShock Infinite did a great job in like swapping that around, where your NPC escort character is, you know, basically amazing, and she does everything when you're sitting there going, oh well, okay. So
the working theory is that you're actually the escort in the escort mission.
That would make sense, yeah, because without Elizabeth, you get your ass kicked badly. So yeah.
There's a cool thing said for the Prince of Persia game that came out for the PS3, where because like you're with this magical person who can basically stop you from falling to your death, and she just seems to be much more useful than you are, which is great. Like, oh man, escort missions.
Yeah, I think I stopped playing Bayonetta because when the first escort mission came out.
Dude, listen, I've played Bayonetta twice, like through. I don't know what that game's about.
I watched Akira for the first time last week, and I feel like I understood that better than
You only watched Akira for the first time?
Yeah. I missed it growing up, like, you know. Funnily enough, a friend of mine lent it to me because I mentioned that Bart Kira exists.
Yes, Bart Kira exists.
Check that out. So I had to get myself caught up.
Fair. Yeah, no, it's an experience, all right. I never forget the first time I lent to someone, and my friend came back and he goes, what the hell was that? Like, yeah, that's kind of... That's
I will say I was prepped for it, though, because I watched Evangelion on Netflix, and that's still weirder than... Akira, like I got a gist of Akira.
Yeah, but Evangelion is a different beast altogether. You know, like I don't know. This is a show topic in and of itself. But like, if anyone hasn't seen, and I'd be very, very shocked if listeners of the show haven't. If you guys haven't seen like Akira or Evangelion, you know, do yourself a favor. You know, sit down and watch it because you won't regret it. You know, you mightn't like it.
Yeah.
but you
You
won't
won't forget it. Yeah.
No, you might like it. You might go, "What the heck is this?" But you will really like appreciate having seen it, and that's they are kind of like core things to see. But that's what I'm saying to you, man. You know, like you have to brush up before we start doing anime conventions, or we'll be torn alive.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be torn apart alive, you know. So
Well, since you brought it up, do you want to plug it?
yeah, so we're doing another panel now at JCon in November. So yeah, guys, if you are running a con or whatever or panels, let us know, and we'll be happy to come down and say some words about stuff. But yeah,
What's the panel about?
so this panel is not about wrestling. You'd be happy to hear. It's about Japanese media and horror media in general, and how it differs to the Western experience of it. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be different. So look forward
So if
to it.
anyone listening out there, maybe you could hit us up with either Western horror recommendations or maybe Japanese ones, and see if we can get a few balls rolling. Like hit us up, and they may end up in the show. We're still putting it together at the moment.
nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. Send them to us. It's pretty good. Actually, speaking of which, it's obviously Halloween soon, right? And I don't know if you guys watch Red Letter Media or not, but
yes.
So oh, you do, okay. So a review came up, you know, where they look at old movies, and they looked at The Exorcist, right? And the review of The Exorcist itself is quite good, but the clips that Jay chose was all from the movie that I did not know existed until I watched the review. So Tuesday, and it's a movie called Repossessed.
Yes, that's one of my dad's favorite films. He's been looking for it everywhere and can't find it. I was starting to think it didn't exist.
I didn't
until
if you had said to me that movie existed, I would have been like, no, it does not. That's a weird fever dream. I had to resort to means that are questionable to obtain said movie, but VHS, yes, VHS. I had to get a VHS tape to watch it, but I have to say it is fantastic. Like it's basically, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's the plot of The Exorcist, but in the future, as in like Regan has grown up and she is a mom with 2 kids, and she gets repossessed again. Right now, obviously, she's not called Regan, and it's not actually based on The Exorcist, but kind of is, and that's the plot. But it's in the same vein as Dracula Dead and Loving It and the Naked Gun movies. It's so good, guys. I was just like, why is this movie so good? You know,
isn't Leslie Nielsen in it?
Yes, he plays the old priest. So yeah, if you like the Naked Gun movies, if you like Dracula Dead and Loving It, it's a must watch. So yeah, but thanks to Red Letter Media for letting me know.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, actually. That is almost an episode in of itself. Some movies are getting very hard to find. Like another film that I actually ended up having to find on YouTube because someone in my family wanted to watch it from when they were a kid was a movie called Amazon Women on the Moon starring Carrie Fisher.
Oh, yes.
Some movies just didn't make it to VHS or didn't make it from VHS to DVD. Movies that are very funny are just disappearing as time goes on, you know? And the Leslie Nielsen one will be one as well.
Willow lives on.
Well, like, you know, that's the thing. It's like my dad's ultimate, like, conspiracy fear, where he's like, oh, everything's going to go to streaming, and then you won't have anything, and then that's it. And I'm just like, all right, listen, you know, if it all goes down and an EMP hit, all the hard drives are gone, and most of the media is gone. So I don't know how you're going to be able to store media, you know, if disaster like that does happen. But, you know, it does have a point where, you know, you'd have your collection of movies on VHS or DVD or whatever, or even, you know, through less than legal, like, expanded VHS, let's call it that. Expanded VHS methods. Betamax, exactly. You would have it, and then, you know, you'd have your little collection, and you'd be able to go through it. Compared to now, where we do stream everything, and if something is made available, you're going to be able to watch it because it's easier than breaking out your Betamax and plugging it into your computer.
That's true, but getting into the pushing the bus off the Star Wars cliff here, Like
something
the original unedited Star Wars movies only exist on VHSs from 1995. So, like, you
Not
know,
true. Not true.
no.
No. Well, okay. Not to go too far. Sorry, Bryn. You wanted to get in there. What were you saying?
I mean, this is something that's happening across like pretty much every medium in entertainment now. Like you're seeing in video games too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like there's
archive becoming a major concern there.
Yeah, it is, and like there's games now that just once the license is gone, that's it. It's done. You know, so that is kind of a fear that if everything does go digital, eventually you're going to be left with nothing really if the service goes down. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Sorry, it's not even the licensing stuff that's like a concern anymore. Like you've got games like what was that big BioWare game that came out, Anthem?
Oh yeah.
Forgot
about that.
The servers are going like are getting decommissioned for that soon enough.
Wow.
And that's a game because like no one's playing it. And like shock and horror, like that game is basically going to mean that like anyone who has a copy of it won't even be able to play it anymore.
But here's another one: Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. They released a demo, and the entire game is on the servers that I think are decommissioned. So if you buy that game, you've bought a demo of the game. But no, like on that point though, you know, it's like you were saying that the Star Wars movies only exist on VHS. Yeah, they do. But the despecialized editions are out there. You can find them. But again, but you can't buy them.
Oh,
and that goes back to what Bryn is saying. You know,
the secret ingredient is crime.
Yeah,
basically it.
You know, yeah, like you have to go out and actually find these things. And the more and more we move towards an environment where either that's blocked or it's controlled in some way, stuff's gonna get lost.
I mean, my dad taped all of the original Star Trek episodes off Sky One. We still have them on the shelf. But now they've got a certain type of value because they did the same thing to Star Wars where they overhauled all the effects and put in digital ones that are better here and worse there. But the standard DVD releases have the special effects.
Yeah.
So what we have in this house is videotapes which have the only original effects left unless you've like got them archived somewhere. So, yeah, that is going to be a more pressing concern the more digitized everything becomes, because ultimately it's at the whims of whoever owns the platform, not the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, this is kind of like that South Park episode, you know, stop changing movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no kind of like cross-platform market to be like, hey, this is crazy, me talking about government control, I know, right? But it's some kind of I would say it wouldn't even be governmental control, it would be some kind of consumer-led thing where you would be like, hey, we need to preserve certain things. And they did try this in, you know, George Lucas, I believe, was part of this to preserve movies, because old movies from the
yes, I was watching the Red Letter Media episode about the people versus George Lucas, and that came up that this like kind of the argument that made in 1988 that movies are art and belong to the public and therefore should be preserved. Like
and you know, I think it's the same thing there with like TV shows and video games and stuff, you know. But until that's a mandate or until that's an actual thing, we're going to see stuff just be lost, you know. And think about this, right? 30 years down the line, we're all old, and you know, games like I'm playing Battlefront 2 now, right? Retro collectors buy Battlefront 2. Up until the latest patch, or a couple of patches ago, actually no, the latest patch, there was no instant action with AI. So if that wasn't included, if the game had been successful on launch, known as the terrible one, right? All it was an online game with a terrible campaign. And if you had bought that when the servers went down, as Bryn said, that's it. No game. You're just playing a terrible campaign and a lobby that never fills up. Now at least they've patched in AI components and you can go and play the game and you can play it now forever, right? But that's where we're going. So it's worrying.
What do you think should be done then to counteract this? Like, what way would you archive? Would you make a move back towards having
physical
solid
media
copies, or?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, you know, like apparently the PS5 and stuff like that's going to be discless. I think that's a mistake.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think that's a massive mistake for a number of reasons. One, internet speed is a thing. If all the games are 70, like I personally hate turning on my console and playing a game and then going off and making a cup of coffee or a sandwich or something while you wait half an hour for a game to load. You're like, I have to go to bed soon because I'm at work tomorrow. Just let me play the game.
Yeah.
You know, I would more be in favor of an expanded media storage platform that can just, but that's not going to happen unless there's a mandate for it. And I think we're going to have to go through the fire and the flames of digitalist gaming for a while.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because my brother has an Xbox One, and there's only limited storage. So every time you want to play a game, you have to install it or uninstall something.
Yeah, correct.
Which is so much less intuitive than if you have physical copies that you put in and just let them do their thing and then take it out and put it back on the shelf. Like,
that's it.
And if you haven't played it in a while, there could be 4 hours of updates. Like, I'm a huge fan of Lego Dimensions. That's happened every single time I put that game back on.
Yeah, and like Bryn, like you made the jump like I did from PC where it was kind of a diskless kind of thing, and now you're back in the console game. And how have you found this? Would you be on the same boat or?
So like, I'm kind of like in a mixed. I'm kind of like mixed on the idea of physical media, mainly because like I rent, and
right, fair.
Like if I move house, if all of my media is in like the form of discs, it's a lot of crap to move. I mean, a part of me kind of likes the idea of like even having like local libraries, just having archival units, because it's kind of what a library's for anyway.
Right.
And as well as that, like if it's part of your community and it's like a local authority kind of thing, it's less likely to need government intervention for whatever, because you're going, well, like they can just hand wave away going, well, look, this is about archival, and don't you want to have a society where everything has a level of archival and retrievable information that everyone can have access to, and then hopefully that person doesn't get shot, and
or be on the plane at the same time as the other guy.
And hopefully that other person isn't Harrison Ford looking for their family.
On my family back.
Get off my plane.
Yeah. So it sounds like the argument you're making, Bryn, is that there should be a move towards games being considered art and a piece of popular culture that should be preserved in the same way that the argument was made for films back in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I think like anything where if it's like any art that can be publicly consumable and like placed in a home, there should be more of a movement to have.
But here's the thing, though, Bryn, right? That existed, and then Nintendo decided to be Nintendo and took it away.
Well, I mean,
sorry, I should give context. After once the whole mini market came out, where they released like the PlayStation Mini and the Nintendo Wii. There was a distinct mark in sales being hit because of the popularity of a Raspberry Pi being used for the same thing. Nintendo were like, what, this exists? And then Nintendo, about 20 years after, Nintendo, like last year, discovered that ROM sites are a thing. Now, we are in no way condoning the use of said ROM sites. However, they did exist and still do.
And here's where you can find them.
No. But here's the thing.
We don't give away that information publicly.
So here's up on our Discord, which I set up on the way. But no, like basically there were some sites. There was one I really liked for tools. It had like different tools you could use for console modding or improving stuff, and that was great. And that was actually a hit. That one was taken down, and you can't go. It's not there anymore, right? And that sucks so badly, because as a resource for somebody who used the actual tools, never mind the games are what they are, but the actual tools itself is great. But anyway, they were all taken down, and there's a few others that are still there, and there are workarounds if you go on Reddit, and know how to employ a script, but that's all I'm saying. But yeah, like it didn't work. It did more damage than it did good, right? Because there were these online archives of games going all the way back. Xbox, PlayStation 2, PS, all the way back. And I think that was a way of preserving games. for people, who never got to grow up with them, or maybe couldn't afford them, or they're just so rare. Like there's certain games that we're going to be talking about at the convention, because particularly PS2 era Japanese horror games, they're quite rare because they didn't really sell that well. Or they have a need, and to buy those now, like I was lucky, I was able to buy them off a friend of mine for not that expensive. But Red Rose and something like that, as an example, that's like 70 euros to buy. And that's just one. So Siren as well, Forbidden Siren as well is another one. Forbidden Siren 2, there you're looking 40-50 bucks. Fatal Frame, same thing. So for the longest time that was the only way that you could go and get it, and it served as like a public service, and it's a shame that's gone. So maybe in a couple of years that might be given that kind of mantle, but I think we're a couple of years away from that, and I think business needs to grow up, and attitudes towards video games needs to grow up, rather than it just being something to pass time where it can actually be a legit art form. I don't think we're there yet, and we're not there yet, obviously.
And based on the treatment of Battlefront 2, there also needs to be a perspective shift in that.
Correct.
The most advanced technological game isn't necessarily the best game, because there are plenty of games, as you were talking about, Bryn, from the 2000s and the 90s that were fantastic and still remain fantastic in spite of the fact they are, in the most technical sense, outdated.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think when it comes to good games, always remain good games. Like there's a reason why Monopoly still sells.
Yeah.
Well, here you guys are gonna laugh, Brent. Sorry, let's continue in a second. A game that I play quite often on the PS4 is
Scrabble.
Monopoly.
Oh.
Because it's fun. So yeah, sorry, Brent. Continue.
There's a reason why these games endure. It's because there's something functionally sensible about them. The reality is that with the idea of archival and stuff like that. I think I feel like games need to be archived in the same way that books need to be archived.
Correct. I agree with that. Yeah.
I think it's a shame to lose. I think some games definitely should absolutely die in a vat. No one needs to play. But, the reality, because the reality is that who as a healthy-minded adult wants to play Manhunt in this day and age? But
you know what though? Manhunt 1. Yeah. It's the experience. Manhunt 2 is total garbage. But I wouldn't sit down. If it was a choice between that and let's say Zelda, right? You're gonna pick Zelda because that's done more. Even though Rockstar would probably be cooler with their IP than Nintendo based on the way they behave.
I think as well, when it comes to a huge amount of what we're seeing as well from the big publishers, they're getting away with a lot because copyright licenses and all that stuff lasts so long now.
Yeah, true.
Where stuff like that would be out of license in public domain within 20-25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's going to be a very long time before a game like The Suffering is going to be public domain. Even though this is probably the first time someone's talked about The Suffering since the 2 years after The Suffering came out. Which was also a great horror game.
That's true. Actually, the Xbox had some fantastic little gems. Suffering was really good.
Yeah, from 2000, I'd say from 2000 to 2006 was a great time if you were into horror and horror games. So many great titles came out during that period.
And hasn't been matched even to today, unless you're playing on Steam or something like that, which, there's some good couple of games there that will be mentioned that are Steam games like Dread Out and stuff. But even still, I find myself going back and playing games from that time period over and over again because they leave such a lasting impression. And it would be a shame to lose those. If we lived in a world where Fatal Frame wasn't archived and you couldn't get Fatal Frame, that'd be horrific because that's an experience that I can't explain to you and do it justice.
Because there's so visceral, especially about like that genre of games where
Correct.
like the experience is just like it's more real than watching the scariest movie ever.
Yeah, because you're living it.
It's like at least at the end of the day with a scary film. Yeah, like at least with a scary film, you know, it's like a roller coaster. You're fine when it's over. I still remember being like 9 years old playing Resident Evil Nemesis, and actually like going, do I actually want to play this? I'm afraid to put on.
I get that with Alien Isolation still.
Oh yeah, well there you go, Keen. That's actually like a prime example of it.
Yeah.
Alien Isolation takes a lot from those tropes of earlier games.
Yeah,
where like it's the perfect amalgamation of what we're talking about. What we're going to be doing at the con. Alien Isolation plays like a game called Silent Blood Curse, which is fundamentally the same thing. You're running against this demon and you can't kill it because you can't kill a demon. Same with Red Rose. You just run and hide.
Isn't that though? Because I haven't played that many horror games, but my takeaway from Isolation is, for the first time as a gamer, I feel helpless, and that's very compared to a movie where you've at least got that buffer.
Yeah,
I was getting very, very distressed by that. You know, even the saving takes a long time.
But that's quintessential Japanese influence through the media. That's how those games work. You know, they disarm you. Because if you're standing there powerful with a shotgun or something, you're probably not going to kill it. You're still going to feel like you have some kind of power. Yeah,
agency, like some degree. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're completely disarmed in space, for example, you're terrified.
Where no one can scream. Where no one can hear you scream.
Exactly. Just like the poster.
Alien Isolation is so good, but so horrifying at times.
Yeah.
Like I think getting back up to the main topic though of like of archival, like I think that I think customers themselves will actually have to make more of an effort to go like, nah, I spent at least €60 on this thing. I demand that it's now my
my property.
That's my property.
Yeah.
Because like again, a lot of games companies are moving to this model where like games are a service and not a good.
Yeah, Anthem is right, that isn't it? Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That is crazy. I'm like, if I wanted to pay for a service, I would play an MMO. I don't play MMO. Just give me my game and go away. You know.
Like no one's like, I mean, the people complaining about like the way games are now are not saying that the way that like World of Warcraft operates is like is misleading or fraudulent.
No, because they're
like, well, I give my X amount of money. I don't know how much the subscription is a month, and I'm
too
happy.
much. It's too much. It's too much.
And actually, just on the point of archival, we talked a little bit about Doctor Who last week, and the tragic thing about the early Doctor Who episodes in the 60s is that still to this day, about 90 episodes have been lost forever.
Yeah.
They've been taped over, thrown out, whatever happened, because no one knew that videotapes would exist back in the 60s. And the only ones that have been found are ones that have been found by fans who had them in private collections or taped them off the TV using cameras, all that kind of stuff. And I would hate for that to happen again with video games in, say, 10 years' time or something like that, just because we weren't ready for the notion of saving them as cultural properties.
But see, like, the thing about it is, it's we're more aware of it now because of the retro market. You know, like, you go and you pick up a copy of, what's it? I can't remember offhand now. What's it called on?
Give us a clue.
No, it's a very, very famous DS game. It doesn't matter. Anyway, okay. For sake of argument, Kingdom Hearts, right? Original Kingdom Hearts before it was re-released and remastered and stuff like that was actually worth quite a lot. I remember, and same with Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, they were worth about €50 each.
Yeah,
you know. At one point in time, that was the only way that you could experience those games. Okay? And that's kind of when people kind of understood that, oh, wait, the game that I had was actually worth a lot. Like, and then they started selling it. So there is an awareness, but it's not really sunk in that now also has that value. And what I mean by that is the Godzilla game that came out a couple of years ago on the PS4. It's terrible. However, it's worth a lot of money. It's worth about $80 because nobody bought it. And you can't get it anywhere. You know, scarcity creates demand, and
Yeah.
like it's like the way, you know, the Superman comics from the 30s are worth, you know, thousands. It's because most of them were thrown out by people's mas who thought they were garbage. You know, it's the same kind of thing. So unless people nowadays, like not even people our age, like younger, like kids who are so crazy into Fortnite and stuff like that, until they realize, hey, you know, if no one archives Fortnite, it's going to be gone eventually.
Oh yeah, sure. I used to be a huge fan of the Marvel Avengers game on Facebook. That doesn't exist anymore. I put so many hours into that.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to having your, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, you know, the PS2, you'd break out the memory card after a while and go, oh, well, cool, I can jump back in.
Yeah.
You can't do that now. And, you know, when the Fortnite servers do go down, because, you know, it might take about a decade, but they will eventually go down. Or longer. That's it. Done.
Yeah, I was a level 300 Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. If I get that game again, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm not going to bother.
We have no choice.
Yeah.
We have no choice. You know, and it's we're moving into this kind of different, you know, games as a service thing, and that's dangerous because then it takes away the art from it, and you end up with two things. You end up with a milquetoast product that doesn't provide the same hit because it's looking for that quick buck.
Yeah.
And then also, well, it's not going to be archived because it's a product and you can't do it because of copyright.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same argument when people ban memes. I had someone today trying to, because they hated this figure so much, they were willing to support banning memes. And I'm like,
oh, is this like the frog meme that was like
no,
ago,
it's worse than that. No, it's the Donald Trump photograph meme thing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it's just a joke. Don't take it. It's a meme. Oh well, we need to ban memes. I'm like, oh my god.
Memes are, in definition terms, an idea that is created by the mass.
Exactly.
You can't really do that in practice, let alone the morality of it. Like,
and consuming pop culture. So pop culture is in you know, linked to that kind of thing, and that's where I was going. I'm no fan of Donald Trump or anything like that, but I was just trying to make this person see sense. And then I realized, stop trying to talk with people on the internet about seeing sense. That's an oxymoron. So then I left and just blasted them with memes.
Yeah.
Except for our listeners, of course, because you guys are great.
Yeah.
Solid meme.
Solid meme. All right. Let's mosey on to a different topic while we have about 20 minutes left, guys.
All right, I'll take the lead for a few minutes. I'm very excited for the 4th season of an anime show called My Hero Academia. Is coming out on the 12th of October. So are you guys familiar with this?
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, I will make my quick little pitch for it. The basic endorsement is it's set in a world that's sort of reverse X-Men logic, where about 80-90% of the population are born with superpowers, and it's from the point of view of the main character, Deku, who was born without powers and wants to be the greatest superhero of all. And it's about him trying to get into the superhero school despite his lack of superpowers, and it follows his journey, and it's a somewhat parody, somewhat love letter to superhero-dom from Japan, with a Superman figure called All Might being the hero they all aspire to be.
This sounds like that Disney movie Sky High from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I could see that now. Compared to that, though, I think My Hero Academia has a good sense of humor. It travels very well. I know a lot of anime doesn't kind of appeal to the masses, but it's broken through. We have in the bookshop I work in, we have a dedicated My Hero Academia manga section that sells out every single week. It's this generation's Buffy. Kids love it, and it's really well made. And there's lots of Star Wars isms in it as well. If you watch it, there's loads of like the towns are all called like Caminoville and Tatooine Station and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So there's a lot to love in it. It's a very, very well done anime, and I would recommend it very highly, even if you're not a fan of anime or superheroes in general.
I don't know why, but the premise kind of makes me think of like an antithesis kind of thing to One Punch Man, where it's
yes, actually, a lot of people compare it to One Punch Man. Except One Punch Man, I would say, is quite cynical in a lot of respects.
Yeah,
it wears its kind of unimpressedness with superheroes on its shoulder. My Hero Academia loves superheroes. It just isn't afraid to kind of make fun of them a bit. Like the villains in it are literally just called the League of Villains. Like it's very surface level, but it's a good ensemble. It's the way I pitch it to my friends is it's the best X-Men cartoon you'll never see. It's a great ensemble show, and it's got a nice mix of superhero-dom. And the world is interesting too, like because it's a Japanese show. It's basically you don't become a superhero by just putting on a mask and swinging out there. Superheroes are kind of like civil servants.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be trained in it in school, and then you have to be apprenticed. So there's a lot of new ideas in there.
Sounds like Full Metal Alchemist almost.
A bit, yeah. There's a lot of Full Metal Alchemist in there as well. That's a good comparison too.
Right
on. So that was actually, I'm surprised we went this far without bringing it up. But since we're talking about superheroes,
oh my god, yeah, literally. I know what you're going to say. Literally after we recorded the show last week, this broke. Cian, lead into it.
Yeah. So it looks like Spider-Man's coming home after all, despite our complaining about it for the past 3 episodes. Yeah,
I was right though. I said this was. I and you can go back. It's on tape.
You did. You said it was a power move, didn't you?
I said it was a power move. Or it was at worst a power move, or sorry, at best a power move. At worst a publicity stunt, and it was. It was.
So he signed on for 2 more movies in the Marvel universe. The rumors, which are, we should always take with a pinch of salt, are that it's going to be another Spider-Man back home again, whatever, something to do with home, and possibly a Captain Marvel tie-in, because without spoiling too much, without spoiling too much of the ending of Far From Home, they did seem to be leaning into Nick Fury and the Captain Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Doomcock was right again. Doomcock was right again.
Now that hasn't been verified. The only reason I take it with. Yeah.
Oh no! Please God, no! I don't want that.
Well, from a business point of view, it makes sense for them because Captain Marvel needs to lead the ship, and she hasn't won over everyone. So
because she has no character and she's terrible.
It's the same with putting the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. It's the same business logic.
Yeah, but the Hulk is good. Everybody likes the Hulk.
Also, the Hulk isn't the main character.
Yeah, true.
I mean, like Bruce Banner works better when he's a supporting character.
Correct.
I would argue that so far Spider-Man has worked better as a supporting character than his own vehicles, though.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, to be fair, I enjoyed him more in the ensemble movies than I did in his own movies. With exception of Far From Home. Far From Home was a quite decent movie in and of itself. But here's the thing, and here's the real twist in this tale. We're going to have a Spider-Man for the first time ever that's jumping around universes.
Oh, yeah.
So the power play here was, and I can't believe this is true, the power play here is that basically they want to try and canonize what's already happened. So Edge of Spider-Verse pretty much becomes canon.
Okay.
Venom kind of becomes canon itself, as in, like, they have this multiverse.
Yeah.
So I could see, and this, I could see this happening, where to get rid of Spider-Man, he ends up just falling through a multiverse. And then ends up in Sony. But that could happen. That's what they've set up.
Or it could be a case that they have, like, Tom Holland star in a Sony Miles Morales film, then pops back home to the Marvel, but by then you've got your own Spider-Man. There's a lot of options they can do with it.
There are. And they've kind of... The main takeaway from this is that Sony got their move. They got this kind of blessing to be able to do this. Have their cake and eat it too, and also make a dump truck full of money. But Captain Marvel, man.
I don't get the hate. I rewatched it last week.
I don't hate her. I don't hate her. I didn't hate the movie when I watched it when I wasn't exhausted.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, we did review it, Bryn and myself, after I saw it for the first time, and I just got back from a 14-hour flight from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Don't watch a movie after that. That's a bad idea. It's not a good reference point. But I watched it sober as it was, and I didn't hate it. I just there was nothing to really like. You know, it wasn't bad. It was just like, okay. You know, it was just like...
Okay, I'll give you that. It does lack a certain bit of X factor. I give the character a bit of leeway, though, because, like, Doctor Strange, everyone kind of fell for him once he was in Thor Ragnarok for 10 minutes. Like, I think there is sometimes the Marvel characters do kind of have to ease into themselves a bit.
No, I love Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange as a movie is probably my favorite Marvel movie.
Oh, same here. Yeah, it's my bad mood like fixer.
It's
certainly.
Great, you know. But there was. Sorry, go on, Bryn. Sorry,
but it wouldn't be that high. Like, I mean, but that's because like my top 5 is kind of stacked.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, like Captain Marvel, don't have anything against it. I don't feel like I watched it twice. I don't think I'll watch it again.
Yeah, like it's between that and Black Panther. I'm just like, I'm never watching those again. You know, and I'm just like, but then again, I wouldn't watch the first. Well, no, that's a lie. I would watch the first Spider-Man movie because it has Michael Keaton in it.
Yeah.
But
like, I mean,
if Michael Keaton wasn't in that, I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just,
it needs an edit, but it's still an enjoyable film. Homecoming, like.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just there's certain Marvel movies which you could watch. It's like Thor: The Dark World. I won't watch that again. I will watch the first Thor though because I enjoyed it. Thor: the train wreck. I won't watch up to a point. I'll watch half of it and then pretend the other half it doesn't exist.
Not be about it for you. Yeah, I think great. Like at this point, it's strange though. I think with at this point, I never need to watch an Iron Man movie again.
Fair, I'll give you that. Yeah, I think they've done everything they can do with Iron Man and everything they should do.
But it's also like I don't really ever want to watch the first Iron Man movie again. Like it's a good film, but I've seen it. Like fair. I always, but you know, when it comes like the introductory films, the ones I will watch again are Captain America, Thor, Galaxy, Spider-Man, and that's it, really.
All right, we're going to put a pin in this now for Phoenix FM listeners. Guys, if you want to catch the rest of the show, go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff, and you'll be able to catch the rest of the show. There's another half an hour left of this with myself and the rest of the guys. So until next week, if you're just catching us here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, we've been Nerd to Know Basis. Talk to you next week.
Alright, so you're listening to the podcast and you're like, hey, I want to get involved, but I'm not in Ireland and I don't have time to listen live. Well, guys, listen. We've revamped everything. We've made it super easy. Nerd to Know Media, everything. Nerd to Know Media, Gmail. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter. Nerd to Know Media on Twitch. Nerd to Know Media across the wall. Everything that you can do, you're able to find us. Nerd to Know Media. nerdtoknowmedia.com is our website, just in case. You can tune in via the TuneIn app and catch us live if you want to. Type in Nerd to Know Basis on Phoenix 92.5 FM and you're able to find us. The stream to the show as it's happening live is actually on our website, nerdtoknowmedia.com. Also, if you haven't got time for that, or if you want something a bit more convenient, we're on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, all across the board. And if you do want to catch us live when we record the show, because spoilers, we tape the show, we do it live on Twitch. Nerdux, NEDDUX is where you can find my personal Twitch channel, and we stream there, the show, every single Thursday at 9 p.m. So guys, no excuse not to listen. We're very easy to find. nerdtoknowmedia.com for more information.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
Download and do it again.
I think Captain America, I know you said nice things about it, but I think the first Avenger gets a bad rep that's unfair. I think it was ahead of the other Marvels in just how stylized and focused it was. A lot of the earlier ones don't have that.
I will agree with you, Keen, up to a point. The beginning of that movie is actually my favorite of all Marvel movies, when the Red Skull walks into that church. And I love that opening. It's my favorite of the whole Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Has a great opening, great first part, great end. It dies in the middle. Dies dead in the middle.
I enjoy the middle.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
really? Okay.
It's fine. Like, I mean, it's like, I think it is laggy. I'm not going to say that like it's a second act, but it's fine. For the story they're telling, I think it's functional. So,
yeah. I didn't hate it, and I still will watch it again. So that's kind of like, I think the Phase 1 movies still stand up as the strongest introductory ones, with the exception of
Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Guardians of the Galaxy. That's still Phase 1 as well, right? Phase 2? Phase 2? Yeah, and then Doctor Strange. There's a few you can pick to, but I think once they started kind of ramping them up and getting all the characters in, they got kind of watered down. And, Black Panther and Captain Marvel suffer from that quite a lot.
I think Captain Marvel suffers from being edited in a really weird way. I was watching a lot of the deleted scenes, and there are really important scenes that explain character stuff that are just left out.
Really?
Like there's a scene that explains that there's an opening scene where she goes into a school where they're indoctrinating the young Kree soldiers. Like, I'm talking like 7, 8 years old.
Right.
And there's all this anti-Skrull propaganda posters on the wall. And they crack a joke about, Yon-Rogg, he goes to the Great Intelligence or whatever it's called, and he sees himself because he admires himself the most, and all this kind of stuff. All the character setup for all those characters is left on the cutting room floor. Why? It sets up the whole movie. Like,
that's what I mean. It wasn't focused. It was there. I think
made though, like having all that propaganda might have overplayed the red herring.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Maybe but that, I mean, when it comes to why things get cut out, a lot of the time you're like, well, who bloody knows? Like,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I will have to say though that there's very few Marvel films that you can say are flops. I wouldn't say any of them have flopped yet, but Spider-Man going in that direction, I think it's the only way they kind of can take him now. Because remember, he's basically a fugitive now. Because he knows who he is.
Well, it depends on whether it's an illusion or not.
Yes, well, actually,
which is
well, it could be an illusion, but Sony released a 20-minute stinger of J. Jonah Jameson doing a show, so
which
it is great. It is great, But yeah, look, I'm happy this news happened. I would have been shocked if it didn't happen. To be fair, it's too much money to leave there. So fair play.
Can I just put a pin in this? I have every faith in Sony for them to ruin their own Spider-Verse without Marvel's help.
Oh, they will.
They've done it so many times. I have the absolute faith in Morbius.
They're going to
crash and burn.
No. I think that might survive by some act of God. They're going to do a Madam Web movie. Why? Madam Web is not interesting outside of Secret Wars or some kind of cosmic thing where they pull all.
Why her though? Why not like an Ezekiel movie or something like that? There's a lot more characters.
Why not a Spider-Man 2099?
Yeah, I mean, like the people got really excited when he popped up in the Into the Spider-Verse.
Sure, that's Bryn's favorite character.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like.
I mean, there's so many different characters they could do. Like, doing Madam Web is like going, oh yeah, we're going to do a Chronicles of the Beyonder story.
Exactly, that's what it's like. It's like bringing in the Beyonder. It's like there's no point. Nobody knows who this person is except for nerds like us.
I've read Spider-Man. I barely know who she is. I know the Juggernaut went after her once. That's all I can remember, and I've read her arc.
Oh well for him. But it's very. I think if they're going to, I mean, Matt Webb is another supporting character person.
Yeah.
He's not a leading role character. They weren't even designed for a leading role. Like, it's not, I would just be going, but why can't I get Ben Reilly?
Yeah, it's just like, it seems to be that
now that's an idea.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like
you could have 2 Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogies.
And I think they probably will. I think they probably will.
I think you're onto something. Maybe they'll have a Ben Reilly Sony Spider-Man and a Marvel Universe Tom Holland Peter Parker Spider-Man. Weirder things have happened.
But see, there's no reason for them not to do it. Like that was only stopped by Marvel going here. No, now that's been and done. So Tom Holland or Peter Parker can just show up in both and be like, hey, you know. And it's no big deal. I think that's probably what will happen. The deal will probably be extended where Spider-Man is just there in the Marvel universe, but he's also in the Sony universe doing things. And to be fair, that makes sense because Sony aren't going to sell it because they haven't got anyone else. So they're like, we'll just do this and make our own movies, but then we'll make dump trucks full of money with the MCU as well. So
yeah, with major composition like Venom and Madam Web.
Earlier, I now need a Christmas film where it's Spider-Man fighting off robbers, invading his home. Thanks, Dara.
I can't wait for the Silver Sable movie.
or the Black Cat movie.
I wouldn't mind that, actually. I think we're still overdue a decent Catwoman movie. I'll take a Black Cat movie if you got one.
Fair. I don't know. I'm just like, who's ever running Sony now should just be like, hey, guys, we don't know what we're doing. Let's just Marvel do it, or else just hire someone to come in and do it. Because the same guy who greenlit all those Fantastic Four movies is running Sony now. Yeah. So that's just bad.
Man.
Did you ever read that Sony hack thing about all their plans for the Garfield verse?
Yes.
Oh God.
Wasn't it amazing?
Not the word I'd use.
Yeah. Like Jonah Hill as the Sandman and all this malarkey. It's like it just read like one of those such and such goes to the shop and then such and such happens. What are they called? The fill in the gap games?
Oh yeah. I'm thinking from The Simpsons, where Homer buys the East of the book. It's like my favorite food is McNuggets.
Yes.
It struck me as what books are these people on, and where can I buy them? This sounds easy.
Oh my God, that's incredible. But one thing I do want to reference before we wrap up, guys. I watch a YouTuber called the Spiffing Brit. Do you watch him?
No, I haven't heard of him.
You guys should watch him, right? He pretty much just breaks games, but in very entertaining ways. And he's quite good. He has a whole series called 100 Stat Man, and pretty much it's his character in Crusader Kings who has 100 stats on everything, and it's his odyssey through this dynastic line. So it's fantastic. I would recommend it before anything else. And also because of him, I discovered the province of Sealand is a thing. Do you guys know what Sealand is?
No, I don't know.
Sealand is the smallest country in the world. All right, it's off the coast of England, and the reason why that's important, and I'm getting to this, is because speaking of titles and stuff, you can actually buy yourself a title from Sealand, right? So you can be a lord of Sealand, or a count of Sealand, or
is this like naming a star after yourself? Something
No.
That?
No. See, I thought this was a scam until I actually bought my friend a title from Sealand, and now she's a lady of Sealand, and he sent her out certificates and everything. I'm like, that's incredible. So yeah, guys, if you want to do that, and to be fair, most of the Christmas presents that people are getting off me this year are going to be titles from Sealand. So check it out.
Yeah, I'd love to. Where can we find that now?
If you type in Sealand.gov or something into Google, it'll pop up as the Principality of Sealand, and then you can just go to the shop and just buy titles. So, and they range from about 30 quid to 700 euro or something. If you want to be a duke, I think a duke is 700 euro.
I've spent 700 euro on stupider things.
Well, see, here's the thing. To be honest with you, the one that appeals to me is Count. So, yeah, I know it's 200 and something quid, but I'm like, oh man, that can't turn that down. So yeah. What about you guys? What titles would you guys pick?
Just to go back to The Simpsons, I'm just happy if someone calls me sir without adding "you're making a scene."
Fair. You can be a knight. You can be a knight for 125 euros. You can be a knight of Sealand.
If I'm a count, do I get a cape?
Of course you get a cape. What
Okay.
count doesn't have a cape?
Okay.
You want the cape, Bryn?
No, you have to buy your own cape.
Fair.
How much is it to be a lord?
30 quid.
30 quid, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'd spend 30 quid on tea in a week. Yeah, give me that.
What about you, Bryn?
I probably would just go for the night, but I'm just wondering though, like, would you actually be able to use these
I would.
as your actual titles? From
I mean, imagine if you're going for a mortgage, how good that would look.
I don't know. I would still like if this ever comes to pass, everything I go for or everywhere I is going to have whatever title it is before.
What about Earl? Is there an Earl?
No, because it's English. So knight, baron, lord, count, and duke are the only ones they have.
Oh, I'm torn between count and lord now.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all quite good though. I think though for a €30 investment, like my friend is super happy because they sent it out to her in the post. I honestly I was like, listen, if it doesn't arrive, I'll buy you something else because it's probably a scam. And it wasn't. They actually sent her out all this stuff, and it's amazing. So she's happy, But yeah, look, if you're ever stuck for a gift, guys, or just pick it up. We're not sponsored by them. I just think it's the best thing in the world. So
maybe we should be though.
Maybe
Reach out to us, Zealand.
Reach out to us. The Principality of Sealand.
For all we know, they have like a TV network there that needs extra content.
Oh my god. Yeah, but there you go. There's two recommendations. The Principality of Sealand and the Spiffing Brit, who I found out about Sealand from, so it's his fault.
Oh god, you've defeated me. I can't get over that.
It's so good. So good.
Oh, okay, I'm out. I've got nothing else to say. Bryn, you got anything?
Yeah, actually I do, because it's a bit of sad news. As you guys are aware, almost every week I plug our good friends over at geeksoftheindustry.com. But this will be the last time I'm going to be able to do that because they're shutting their doors.
Oh no!
Yeah. After 7 long years, Chunky Larry is closing down the site, and he's just keeping it up purely so that people can download whatever episodes that they liked and want to have as a permanent backup before he tears down the site at the end of the year.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a downer because, like, for those who don't know, I basically got my start in podcasting through Geeks of the Industry. It's where I was doing editing for a little show called Wrestling with Smut, which is where two thick girls would talk about wrestling and fanfic. And I learned terms I never wanted to know. Yeah, and that ran for like about 20 episodes or thereabouts. From there, I got to do a couple of one-off shows for different things on the on different podcasts there. I even did a show on terrible films called Shit Film Sunday, and its second season, Shit Film Sundays 2, Shit Harder. And yeah, unfortunately, the site is going down, but it's been an awesome time working with that show, and I've almost every week with diligence had to plug them because without them I still feel like I wouldn't be here. So yeah.
Fair.
Oh, that's a shame. But like you say, it's if they're keeping the site up, that dovetails right back into the archiving thing. At least all that stuff's available for new people to discover.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Archives.
Sure, Star Trek didn't hit its stride until after it was cancelled. You never know.
That's fair.
You start which no one saw, and then kept it alive.
Where can we find your episodes then?
They'd be on geeksoftheindustry.com. I'm just gonna double check it. Yeah, so the episodes that you can find for me would be under Shit Film Sundays. Pretty much everything else has been torn down from years ago. But then like most of the other stuff will still be up, like their flagship shows, Geeks in the Industry, Mega Paris Radio, and all the other wonderful stuff they have there.
All right, on. Well, no, I'm going to take that as my opportunity to go over and grab everything I wanted before it goes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good call.
And I would encourage everyone to do so as well. So, geeksintheindustry.com, right?
Yeah, the industry. So, some of the content there is ridiculously good as well, which is such a...
Because when it's gone, guys, and that's important about archiving. You never know what's going to happen before it's gone. So, but speaking of which, actually, we have 2 shows that have to go up as well, so they're going to go up on our feed soon. So, yeah, I got to get on that. I got to get on that soon. All right. So, Bryn, is that everything you wanted to bring up?
That's pretty much all of my bits and pieces for this week.
Oh, okay.
I believe we're coming to the end of the show at this point.
We are. We're just ready to go.
Have anything to plug?
Kane?
Nope, I've plugged my Hero Aka. I'd say Hero Academia, check it out. New series coming out soon. I suppose it's an overused term, but I'd say it's a very good gateway anime. It's very, very good, and you can find it on most sites. Other than that, I'm still reading the Christopher Eccleston autobiography. I fully would recommend it. It's a very, very powerful and haunting read. I would say definitely check it out, and I'm going to try and have it out the book by next week.
Right on. I'm just going to wrap it up here with our website, nerdtoknowmedia.com. You can email us at nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. Our Twitch, you can find us over there, Nerd to Know Media or Nerd Ducks. And yeah, so that's it. If you guys want to reach us, the best way to do it is either Facebook or email, and it's all there. So yeah, check it out.
All right, so that will do it for this edition of Nerd to Know Media, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and cheerio.
See you next week.
Bye.